What's up, guys? Good morning. I hope everybody's having a good start to the day. I had a lot of thoughts running through my head this morning before I got to the gym and while I was at the gym. So I just figured, why not? I know I've gotten good feedback on these types of videos before. I enjoy doing them. My goal is, and I know Josh too, our goal is always to provide you guys the best content we could possibly provide. And that's not always going to necessarily mean good stock setups because we don't have control over that. We can't control when there's good setups and stuff like that. But as far as like psychology and psychological conditioning and stuff like that, when I have a good thought train going and I've got some ideas I just want to talk about, this is what you're going to get. So I hope you guys enjoy. But anyway, I just want to kind of discuss this morning kind of where my head was at, talk a little bit about psychology and getting over a losing trade, and just touch on a couple other things. But so yesterday we had that QS setup, and it was a great looking chart. It was only a little ways away from being what I would have considered an A type of setup. As of yesterday's close, I would have definitely put it in like that B plus category. It had a couple more lines to clear, $65, $70 or so. So I was scaling in accordingly. I didn't have A plus type size, but I certainly had a decent position that I had started scaling in Friday. I scaled in a little more yesterday. I had my risk in mind, which I was outlining as about $55, which was last week's low. So the thesis was all there. Trade thesis was there. I had a bit of conviction, not super high conviction, but it was higher than normal, and normal being kind of, just there's been a lot of choppiness and a lot of debauchery in the market lately. So I finally felt kind of settled into a position. Anyways, yesterday after hours offering, stock goes down $6. I think, I don't know, percentage wise, maybe in the range of like 10%, something like that, 9-10%. And obviously losing money sucks. No one wants to lose money. Our goal as a trader isn't to hop in each day and lose money, right? That's not what we're striving to do. Our goal is to make money, right? We're trying to make money. We're trying to become financially free, make a career of this, whatever you want to do with it, whatever it is. So yeah, losing money sucks, but at the end of the day, it's part of the process. And especially, I kept telling myself yesterday after hours, and this is how I normally operate. And I'll always say, you want to be thinking as similarly to a computer as you possibly can when it comes to trading and executing trades. Why? Because computers don't have emotion, they don't have bias, they don't hold on to loss or pain, or they don't feel sorry for themselves. Computers they function independently of every other variable. They're just their own entity. Anyways, I'll always preach, you want to trade as similarly to a computer as possible. And that's kind of how I evolved my mindset over the years, especially the last 4 years or so since I've been a consistently profitable trader. I think I trade very similarly to a computer. So on afternoons like yesterday, when I clearly saw the stock was going to open today lower and I was going to have to take a significant loss, in the range of, so I had the $55 and $60 calls. So I mean, I don't know, they probably gapped down 50% or 60%, something like that. Anyways, it was ugly. It wasn't fun. But at the end of the day, that's part of trading. As long as it's systematic, as long as it's part of your strategy, you're going to have losses. Losses are a part of the game, and that is a matter of fact. So for me, I would always rather take a loss on a setup that I had a little bit of conviction behind, that I kind of, trusted in a way, that I recognized. That QS setup was a setup that I had recognized. It was a setup that I thought was extremely favorable. There were, like I said, there was a couple more levels, but with all that being said, it was still a setup that I was willing to start scaling into. And, I had my clear defined risk. And this morning it hit my risk and I stopped and sold for a loss. I guess my point being is that I would always rather take a risk, because as traders, you in order to make money, you have to take risk. You have to. That's part of the game. You can't make money without taking risk. So for me, I was willing to take that risk in the form of this trade idea. And I would always rather lose money off of something that I had a thesis behind than have a thesis behind something and then that stock go and I don't have a position, i.e. I missed out on the trade. So in other words, more simple put, I would rather lose money on a trade that I had a conviction behind than miss out on a trade that I had conviction behind. Just because I feel like it's, and again, I don't associate with emotions and stuff like that when it comes to trading, but at the end of the day, I'm still human, and there's still thought processes and things like that can creep through the cracks or whatever. So it's definitely, for me, it definitely stings a bit more if, I have a thesis and something takes off and I didn't have position. But again, taking a loss on something that I had a thesis on and it just didn't work out. Whatever, that's part of life. It is what it is. So like I said, it is what it is. You take the loss, you move on. That's life. That's trading. That's how it goes. That's nature of the beast. So I always say I don't get high off green days. I just don't allow myself to. And family and friends and people who are close to me, they've said before, like, Matt, you should celebrate and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I have no reason. Like, I'm just ready for the next trade. Like, there's no reason to get high. Similarly, when I have a bad trade or a series of bad trades or red or bad, whatever you want to call it, I don't allow myself to get low. So it's that balance. It's that, never too high, never too low. It's that even keeled mindset. And this morning was a perfect example of that. Because the Matt, the trader of myself, maybe 5 years ago, my first couple years trading, a morning like this morning probably would have crushed me. My ego, my psyche, I probably would have been down on myself the whole day. It probably would have led to a few other irrational trades. But again, I always talk about this with experience and trial and error and stuff, and all of that jazzy stuff. You realize that this is just part of the game. It just happens. It happens frequently. I think another very important part of losing or waking up with the, first thing in the morning, I talk about this all the time. It's like stock market opens. If I'm in a red trade, I'm always going to sell at least half, right? Because I'm not going to hold red. I'm always going to sell at least half. Maybe wait for the dust to settle, and I can always go back in. But I'm never just going to hold red and just cross my fingers, close my eyes, and just kind of wish. Like, that's not a strategy. If it gaps down, I'm going to at least trim some, kind of reset the chakras a little bit, step back. Like I said, wait for the dust to settle, and you can always get back in. But yeah, this morning was just a good example of the gap down. I was just like, I don't want to see the red. I'm just going to cut it straight open. And that's exactly what I did. And for me, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, okay, the red, get it out of the way. Now we can just kind of move on with my life. But something else I want to talk about was what I call the victim mentality behind trading. And this is especially prevalent within new traders, inexperienced traders, traders who have been trading less than a few years, really, because it takes time. It takes a lot of time to, I always say, recognizing patterns is going to be the easy part. You should be able to pick up on patterns within your first year, especially your first 2 years trading. That's the easy stuff. The hard stuff, the stuff that takes a long time, the stuff that I'm still getting better at and learning so much about, is the psychology, and that takes a lot of time and trial and error. But when I talk about the victim mentality, it's that thought process of, why me? Why this happened to me? Why did that company do an offering? Right as I enter, they do an offering and the stock drops. Why me? Why is the market out to get me? And trust me, I had the same kind of mindset my first couple years trading, back in 2013, 2014, maybe even into 2015. There was a lot of times where a stock wouldn't go my way, or, I'd miss out on something, whatever it was, but I just didn't capitalize. And I would just think to myself, like, God dang, man, like the market is just out to get me. And it's such a negative spiral of thoughts, and it's such wasted energy, because, well, for starters, the market's not out to get you. The market doesn't know you exist. The market doesn't care you exist. The market is simply a series of data points just going back and forth. And you're one of those data points in a time series graph. You're not relevant. I'm not relevant. None of us are relevant. We, in the grand scheme of things, of course, our bits and pieces of data have relevancy, but in the grand scheme of things, the market does not care about us at all. So with that being said, the market's not out to get you, but conversely, the market's also not out to help you. It's just the market's there, right? It's just this medium for us to we have access to, and we can tap into it, and we can get a piece of it. We can try to predict moves and stuff like that, but the market's not out to get you. And as much as it may seem at times that your luck is bad or whatever, it's just trading, guys. Like, that's just how it works. You're not always gonna hit it on the head. You're not always gonna be perfect. If you're trading to be perfect, well, that's a different story. But I think getting over red trades quick, having that short-term memory, and just moving on. I say it all the time. On to the next one. I say it after green trades. I say it after red trades. On to the next one. I'm not holding on to the loss. I'm not letting it ruin my day. I'm not letting it dictate my mood. Again, I'm trading as close to a robotic computer type of state as I possibly can. And that means that I'm not holding on. I'm not feeling sorry for myself. I'm not blaming others. I'm not pointing to, oh, this market maker or this, this profile on Twitter, or, this company, blah, blah, blah. That's such a stupid way of thinking about it. You made the decision. You placed the buy order. You placed, the sell order. There's no one to blame on losing trades besides yourself. It's something that took me a few years to get out of that victim mentality. I'm telling you guys, the first couple of years I traded, it was very much, and Josh will tell you the same thing. It was very much like, dang, like, it's, someone's always out to get me. These dang market makers, they're always out to get me. When in reality, it was all myself the whole time. It was myself to blame the whole time. And once I figured that out, once I realized, oh, I could have had a little bit less position, or, I could have scaled out a little more, a little sooner, or taken a little more profit off a little quicker, whatever. I mean, it's endless. You go and talk and talk about it. But at the end of the day, it's ownership. It's taking responsibility, not pointing the finger. It's ownership. You take ownership of your decision making and don't hold on to losses. Get over them quickly. Don't feel sorry for yourself. At the end of the day, it's just money, and you can always make it back. Just be patient. But yeah, I mean, this morning it wasn't like a catastrophic loss or anything like that, but it really had me thinking, especially yesterday afternoon. And I was going to make a webinar, and then I just decided, I'll do it tomorrow, possibly, and because the thought process would be a little more fresh in my mind. And it was this morning when I took the loss. I was like, this would be a great recap to kind of go over just my thought process. And that's it, guys. It's really not much more complex than that. It's just a matter of, it was a trade. There was a thesis behind the trade, and it didn't work. And that's trading. It's gonna always be that way. It's always gonna happen that way. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But as long as it's systematic, and as long as I understand, what I did wrong. For me, what I did wrong yesterday, I probably had a little too much size too quickly. I think that's, waking up and taking the loss this morning and seeing the number, I was like, yeah, that loss this morning probably should have been about a third or 2/3 of what it was. I probably had about a third or 2/3 more than what I should have had. But again, it's all learning, guys. It's all learning. That's why I love the game so much. That's why I know Josh loves the game so much, because we're always getting better. We're always learning. We're always fine tuning. And I'm far from perfect. I don't expect to be perfect or to ever be perfect. What I do expect, though, is that from poorly executed trades or from trades that didn't work out in my favor, what I expect is to learn and continue to learn and continue to grow and continue to get better. And that's what my hope is for all of you guys, as I know that's what Josh's hope is for all you guys. But yeah, I just thought that this video would be important, especially in the current market conditions. I know it's been a very choppy, it's been kind of a rough month for a lot of traders. I took the better part of 3 weeks off, came back 2 weeks ago, had a couple good trades. Last week was another slower week. And we'll see what the rest of the week has in store for this week. But, something that we've talked about from the start with Trade with Traders, we're not going to, there's not some make-believe quota, and we're not just going to put out chart setups for the sake of putting them out. I know, especially for me personally, I'm waiting for the best of the best. And that's when I'll, share something. But in the meantime, I love talking psychology. I think it's so important. And I've gotten good feedback from it too. So I know you guys enjoy this type of stuff. But yeah, with all that being said, I hope everybody has a great day. Whether it's a green day or a red day, don't let it affect you. On to the next one. Always. On to the next one. All right, guys. I'm out. Peace and love.